Hello and welcome to Banking Frontiers, to this wonderful and very insightful conversation on the area of the compliance continuum. Friends, we have a very interesting topic today, and we chose this concept of continuum because compliance is a consistently changing goalpost. Every day, there is a new fraud. Every day, there is a new technology coming in, and there are newer parameters that the regulators have to face. At times, it is the cops who come after the crime happens, and then they try to create regulations around the potential crimes that would come into the picture. And that is where we say that they have the vision to set up the compliance even beforehand. And that is where we say that this entire goalpost of compliance is in a continuum. And that is the title of today's discussion. I am Babu Nair, and I am the publisher of Banking Frontiers. And along with me, I have a very interesting panel which is working with us to share some of the most beautiful thoughts in and around this topic. We have Mr. Sridhar Kalyan Sundar, who is the former director of Dhanalakshmi Bank. Plus, he has a very outstanding career in the area of banking sector. And along with him, we have Mr. Shibu Thomas, who is from South Indian Bank, Mr. Aditya Goenka, who is from Yes Securities, and Mr. Ratan Jyoti from the Ujjivan Bank, from the technology and the banking side. And from the technology expertise side, we have Mr. Syed Shiraz Rizvi. Gentlemen, all of you, welcome to this wonderful and insightful session.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Babuji. It is a pleasure being on this panel along with such elite participants and on such a very important subject. I have been a banker all through my life. I'm privileged to sit on both sides, on the executive side for a large part, and on the oversight, or the board side for a considerable part of my career. We will share a few of our thoughts. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Hi, myself Aditya Goenka. I'm heading legal and compliance in Yes Securities. And the entire career and I've worked in broking industry only. Looking forward to have a good event.
My name is Ratan Jyoti and I represent Ujjivan, a small finance bank. And we are a small finance bank. We serve the urban poor, and our aim is to become a mass market bank. We are primarily a digital bank. And we believe that digital innovation and digital transformation is the way to serve customer, and for that cyber security becomes very important, and so the compliance. And today's discussion is all about the compliance. Thank you.
I am General Manager and CISO at South Indian Bank. As you all know, banks are heavily regulated, and the compliance is a key, very key topic for us to comply with various directions of various regulators and the extent laws in the country. So this today's topic is very close to my heart as it is, and very relevant to our industry also. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Syed and I head the pre-sales, mainly solutioning for SymphonyAI, mainly for India region, and SymphonyAI is more from where we have enterprise workflows company which helps organizations with different enterprise solutions, and I manage the complete technology and solutions for the same. Thank you.
Wonderful. So welcome all of you. Sridhar sir, if I may quickly ask you to set a tone based on your experiences on the side of the top management as well as a practitioner and a trainer, a quick 1 or 2 minute intro on this topic.
The majority or the entire financial services under the regulator, the Reserve Bank of India, it would only be relevant to start off with the benchmark or the watershed movement in technology related or based compliance, what we very popularly or commonly refer to as the Gopalakrishna Committee guidelines or report, or the what do you call guidelines, as it were, that came out in 2011, and the sequel of that came out in 2023. An interesting fact many would like to know is the 2023, which is the latest guidelines from RBI, who is actually popularly amongst my friends from banking and from the other regulated entities, is called the TK Rajan Circular. And Mr. TK Rajan was the CGM who released the uh, circular in 2023, was actually a part of the Gopal Krishna committee as the, a secretarial part that actually put together the various committee discussions, deliberations. So you can see the regulators having invested a whole host of thinking leadership, thought leadership on how the evolutionary changes will have to be captured. Babu, you were mentioning, as it says, as we were in the opening preamble, setting the tone, how the changes are happening. It is almost a continuum. And that is probably the reason why the organizers, particularly Banking Frontiers, have even chosen this very relevant. It's a continuum. Even as we are talking today, there are challenges in front of very senior CISOs like Ratan and Shibu and and so all the friends, other friends also who are not here. But the regulator also needs to keep evolving, and that is very much reflected. You can see within a span of 10, 12 years, the second set of a larger continuum has come in the form of this thing. And if you look at certain deliberations that have come out, particularly last year, when the deputy governor highlights the need for organizations, particularly the regulated entities. Mr. Swaminathan, in one of his first public, interactions after taking over as the deputy governor, mentioned to keep the organization resilient, particularly in the light of certain experiences that had just preceded that. And if you look at what, as recently about, just a month back, if you look at what our governor makes a mention of the CSITE, examination process of the enhanced processes of the regulator. So there is a great deal of focus that's coming on this very important aspect of how changes in the environment have to be managed with changes in the technology, being prepared, able to scale up. To quote or to steal one of your very favorite references, Babuji, is do you do mid-air refueling? And so on and so forth. I'm sure our panelists will talk more about these things as we engage with this. I hope this small thought process of mine sets the tone. I'll be very happy if it did. And we'll be very, very glad and I'm looking forward to listening to others. Thank you so much.
We have seen a lot of new technologies making their home into the financial services or for the industry in general. Open AI, cognitive AI, generative AI. From there, we have seen the blockchains, the clouds, and a lot more technologies which are quantum computing is going to be one of the biggest drivers as well, and it is going to be the biggest security hazard as well. Uh, and we are equally giving technology in the hands of the fraudsters as much as that of the practitioners who are here. So from all these things that have been working around, we definitely have to explore the kind of mitigation of risks from the financial institutions perspective. Amongst the recent announcements and the enhanced the security frameworks that have been adopted, what have been the key areas of focus within the updated security frameworks mandated by the regulators in each of these, spheres? And how are organization adapting to these enhancements while ensuring that your compliance remains non-negotiable? Maybe Aditya, you would like to take from the capital markets perspective some of these recent additions by the regulators, and what do you think should how organizations are going ahead with?
Thing is that the organization need to focus on the advancing of the cybersecurity and the resilience. We can implement the third-party risk management strategies, which includes basically the risk due diligence, risk screenings, risk assessment, and continuous monitoring into the cybersecurity regime. The basic objective that we focus in the securities market are the investor protections, regulating the market risk, preventing insider trading, fostering fair trade practices, prohibiting fraudulent activities, and lastly, as the Modi government has the concept that Viksit Bharat, So how we can develop the trust of investor in our market. That is the main thought process.
Any striking thing that you think has really caused, flutter or had invited for a quick kind of change into the securities market, especially from the compliance perspective in the recent past?
See, the ecological system is getting changed, and people nowadays is the kind of technological implementation that we are looking for is very speed and very rapid. For an
Mm-hmm.
example, like we are implementing something, the second version is coming up. Regulator is
Mm-hmm.
trying to implement the things on a very faster pace. So what we suggest or we do at our organization or as an industry overall, that we try to be steady. At the same time, we whenever we deploy anything, we try to take a note key what the things we are missing it out, because whenever we plan to implement anything, we always try to be right on the very first instance. That is the approach of all the organization. We should be make things happen in the very first instance and try to sort out the things and the problems and the regulators where they are coming from, but it is not possible. So taking a note like how things are happening and how we can enhance more on that, and how even at the same time how your clients and your different associates that are responding to that, that is also an important thing.
Wonderful. Ratan, you have been a banker for quite some time. You have been into the information security practice. In the recent past, especially, maybe after the Data Privacy Act and things like that also, what have been some of those sweeping changes which came instantly and, especially for the banking sector? Anything very interesting you want to share?
As Mr. Shiraz said in the beginning that the first RBI guideline came in 2011, and that was popularly known as Gopal Krishna Committee recommendation. Then the second one was 2011, and that was called the Cybersecurity Framework. And now 2023, what he called the TK Rajan Committee recommendation. So three quick things. And although the subject area remains the same, but RBI has issued the circular because there is a generational changes in the cybersecurity. So what we have seen that 10, 12 years back, there used to be data. We used to talk about data security when I started my career as a security professional. From there, we moved to information security, and that point of time, Gopal Krishna Committee recommendation came. Then it became cybersecurity, and 2011 RBI released cybersecurity framework. Now it is all about the digital security. So the current circular is also called the digital security. So that is the sea change from the data to information to cyber to digital security. And the bank like us who believe in the digital innovation and digital transformation, although the subject area of the circular remains same, but it is all about digital transformation. So banks are now adopting cloud, means they are going to API, they are using microservices. My earlier panelist uses the vendor risk assessment. So they are tying up with a lot of vendors because bank can alone not provide all the services to the customer. They need to rely upon the partners, and these partners could be fintech, startups, neobank, payment bank. So they need to be integrated with these banks. So what RBI talks about in the new circular, and that will show the changes, is about the secure architecture. So they have started from the design. If design of the cybersecurity program is not complete and robust and not layered, probably there will be leakage of information or compromise would be there. They are talking about a lot of new area this time in the digital circular, and that starts from the data leak prevention. So bank has to be a zero data leakage industry, and for that, all about the people, process, technology. At each layer, we need to implement the data leakage strategy.
Super.
This circular also talks about the user access management. The patch management has given a lot of importance. So now RBI mandates that you should have a patching policy, and you should not only have the patching policy, you should implement that. And patching must be the risk-based policy, and that bank needs to define basis its risk exposure and risk appetite.
Super.
So the vendor risk management, he already talked about the entire vendor management, because all the attacks now put to the banks are coming from the supply chain. And if you do not have your vendor risk management program appropriately written and implemented, you may be compromised. So this circular talks a lot about the vendor risk management framework. Then IT asset management, that is a big chapter in this circular, which means that a asset you cannot monitor, probably you cannot secure. A asset you do not know. So bank needs to know, or any organization needs to know where its information asset is. And unless I know where my asset is, I cannot make it secure. A lot importance is given in the digital era, in digital security, to the cyber security.
Interesting.
And cyber defense center, which remains the key. So you need, and a bank like us who serves 80 million of the customer, we per day we handle the billions of signals and logs, and these logs need to be correlated, and real-time defense needs to be monitored. So cyber defense center, which we earlier used to call the SOC, that has evolved. And now it is called cyber SOC or cyber defense center. And so a lot of guideline around that has come. RBI has given a lot of importance to BCP, and earlier there was no frequency of the cyber drill. Different banks were adopting different frameworks. So now all these things have been mandated, right from the architecture to your BCP and in between everything. So everything is defined, everything is measured, everything is monitored, and everything will have to be reported to the regulator. So that is about the new compliance RBI has prescribed, and all banks required to.
Wonderful, sir. That was a great encapsulation, and you have actually taken all the points that I wanted to discuss and encapsulated in that single answer. And I can see Syed smiling there, seeing that all these are a component of some of the thing or the other that he is also working on. And he was just telling me a couple of days back about this circular and the things that it has been working around in this entire fashion, especially all those things. And one of the important things is how you are bringing in a grounds up security rather than having a fix for every small thing. How are you building a architecture itself with a building in grounds up security? This is what I have been hearing from all the Gartners of the world and all that. Not my gyan, it is all come from all of you. But this is what I have been hearing from the practitioners from the industry. So one of the most important thing what I see from there is like implementing all these new attachments or all these new enhancements into the framework of security or asset management, etc. So now when you have already a legacy system existing and you have to put in these various components together, Shibu, how do you see that integration as a issue? Because it is not that you cannot stop the bank for a couple of days and then integrate it. This has to run, this has to run, and it is akin to mid-air refueling. So, Shibu, what is your thought on how you have been integrating this, and what kind of practices, best practices do industry do to ensure that there is zero frictionless transformation there when it comes to implementation?
Thank you, Babu. And I like the term mid-year mid-air refueling. I think is sort of correct also. I mean, I would say, because see, the point here is we have a running organization. That's absolutely clear. And one thing, our regulator also does not want any downtime, because customers get disrupted or affected. So without, so we need to balance the expectation of regulator in terms of zero downtimes. At the same time, enhance the security, because the threats. Just 2 minutes I will, just take to understand the threat and why do we, what are we talking about here? Outside world, you talk about ransomware. This is not just ransomware. The evolution was from initially they threatened to encrypt data. Later they threatened to leak the data. Now they threaten to attack your customer also. So you are having triple extortion one side. Then your supply chain is getting compromised other side. Then you have this phishing, business email compromise mails. So there are a large number of, and the new age threats. So AI is sort of deep fakes and such things are all, and that's all literally looking over your shoulder. So these are the threats which we sort of face outside. And when RBI started us, I think we were referring to this cybersecurity framework. And that was given in 2016. there were a set of 16, 17 solutions mentioned. But then but threats evolve over a period of time. You can't sit on your old solutions. You need to move ahead. And naturally, new solutions also need to get plugged into your security operations or cyber defense center. Now, that requires a careful planning. Number one, you need to require a careful planning. You need to understand your context. Which solution fits your context very well? Every solution may not fit your requirement or context. And then you need to the extent possible, do a pilot run there to ensure that, I mean, it is really working in your environment. Once these fundamentals are placed, after doing a thorough study, then you need to go for the usual process of tender and all that, procure the solution and get it implemented. And during implementation also, we need to ensure that that disruption is least or minimal. And your previous efforts of not doing a pilot, doing a thorough study and understanding the context will help you to ensure without any disruption to the customer or to your ecosystem, this can be done. And for example, when we are looking at a XDR solution, which was one of the latest solutions in the market, we did the same process, and we were able to roll it out across a very large number of endpoints, pan India, without troubling the user or users. Basically, this is more to do with internal users. But, they were on a different, totally different generation of your antivirus, anti-malware software. This was a quantum leap in terms of technology because there's got AML, all those baked in. And then this was done because based on what is the environment on which we are rolling out. All these studies were done, and then we rolled it out, and we didn't have any problem. It is working fine now. I mean, without affecting the user or the customer in any way, we were able to roll it out. So this is just one example. I think that your home, to put it in a nutshell, the homework counts very much in this technology rollouts. Plugging in a new technology into an existing environment. The point here is your fundamentals of the fundamental solutions cannot be overnight removed. Like a firewall is a firewall, it still does its duty. We can't remove them also. I mean, at the same time, new solutions for cloud or your on-premise, a lot of solutions coming for cloud. But these things have to be integrated all across so that your visibility across the ecosystem is still not decreasing, it is improving across your assets, across your entire. That is the key point here. Visibility has to keep on improving, it can't get reduced. In spite of adding all this, IT adds its own assets. Same time, security team also has to add their own solutions so that these assets are covered, whether they are on cloud or on premise. That visibility still holds good. I mean, things are visible to you, what is happening in terms of attacks or the threats, evolving threats, etc. You still hold the visibility, still ensure that without disruption, your solution gets rolled out. And for this, I think these fundamental parameters which I told, or these elements would help go a long way to help and to ensure that these solutions get rolled out, your organization stays protected, and you are ensuring a safe environment for your customer also to operate in. Yeah, thank you.
That is a very good comprehensive methodology, and this is a subset of the overall technology implementation that anybody does. So into the overall technology framework, this security framework is also a subset of the technology again when it comes to enhancing the existing framework.
So Mr. Sibu explained very broadly, and it was quite comprehensive. But see, cybersecurity today is a business risk. And if I have some legacy application or I have next generation application like cloud, so I should choose a solution. I should choose a solution that suits both the environment. And I talked about the cyber defense center where the logs would go and people should monitor. So what helps here is the business requirement analysis and risk assessment. Risk assessment of the solution that we choose and that is compatible to the entire environment. Probably the risk requirement analysis has to be strengthened and coverage has to be adequate, and also it has to be seen that it suits to all environments. So risk assessment, I have seen that helps in choosing the solution. Plus, the solution choosing that should not work in silos, and that should work with each other. Then only legacy application and the new generation application both can be covered quite adequately.
Superb. So I think that's very well put, and I think we have an overall framework now on how to transition to this transformation. So, Syed, from your perspective, when we have listened so much to the practitioners from the industry, on one side, we are talking about the baseline security and inventory management,
Right.
uh, which we have been listening a lot about. How do you think that specific thing can be addressed to in a very, very comprehensive manner,
Right.
especially with the kind of protection of privacy while facilitating collaborative information sharing?
That's correct. Yeah. Thanks, Babu, for the question. So if you see baseline security and inventory management is one of the important baseline controls for maintaining compliance with the regulatory framework, right? So if you see IT asset management, it plays a very crucial role uh, in helping BFSI or other organizations as well to elevate their security postures to meet the security requirements seamlessly, right? So if you see, without a robust asset management program, right, organizations expose themselves to various risks ranging from security breaches to non-compliance, right? Some of them might be like misplaced or lost inventory or audit failures, or it can be underutilization of your assets, right? Or it can be an inaccurate inventory, right? So these are some areas where IT asset management definitely plays an important role. The question here is like how IT asset management uses different technology features and products within itself to comply to these regulatory requirements. So there are various, I would say, product capabilities that are there with IT asset management, which is more of a unified one that takes care of, I think, multiple compliance to the baselines. One is mainly an automated discovery, which gives you a comprehensive view of your entire infra, be it cloud or be it data center, which captures the entire catalog of your IT assets. That includes your hardware information, your software information, your cloud resources everywhere. So by which you can get a comprehensive view of your entire inventory, right? And definitely it ensures to have a better control and compliance by having an accurate and timely capturing of information or proactive capturing of information. That is one. Second is that IT asset management is tightly coupled with the life cycle, which is a very important aspect in this compliance, because from procurement till disposal, there are various activities and actions that being done to the organizational assets, right? So ITAM solution provides a comprehensive view in terms of tracking the life cycle from procurement till disposal, so that at any point of time, if you want to track that where my asset is, to whom it belongs to, when it was sent for repair, when it was sent for maintenance, what is the depreciation value of that, whether it has gone through a reconciliation process so that you can check the usage and accordingly you can optimize the asset usage, right? Second, then it also have a single view, I would say, single pane of view where it captures not only the asset related information, but all information which are very much related to that. Be it can be a contracts management, be it vendor management, as somebody was talking about risk management. It's very important to capture all information in a single console so that it can help with the right information at the right time and proactively help us with the reconciliance also, because there is a CMDB in place which captures the baseline configuration, which enforces baseline configuration to have a better visibility of your entire configuration of your hardware and software life cycle. And then definitely it can help you to define and enforce baselines, which minimizes the risk of unauthorized change controls or change management, or it can help you with the resilience, right? Then I would say security measures, right? Very important aspects of this asset management, where how you can define that which are the security controls or application controls which are there in line. So IT asset management solutions also helps you with the defining various security or enforcing various security policies, and accordingly you can monitor those security policies, and the system will generate a report to you in terms of any kind of compliance report, so that you can proactively manage all those non-compliances or compliances that are there in the as per your defined security policies, right? Then access controls, user-based access control, it can be an application-based access control where you can restrict the user to have an unauthorized access, or you can restrict the user to have an unauthorized access to any particular software installation, right? Or there is a protection, sensitive data protection in terms of privacy, so that via encryption, where you can have encryption at different various field levels or form levels, so that you can restrict the information to a set of people which are belongs to that particular personas. So these are various I think practices whichever these are various features and capabilities that are part of IT asset management that definitely helps organizations to meet their regulatory requirements related to baseline security and inventory management.
Superb. Anybody from the practitioner side want to add on anything over and above this from your experiences in the banking side?
As a practitioner, even if we use the best asset management solution, we have seen that they give visibility from 80% to 95%. If I use the best tool, they give 95% visibility on all assets. 5% of assets are there, but somehow they are not covered due to different regions, maybe due to operating system mismatch, due to so many regions. So the success depends on that, what policy, what procedure we adopt for those 5% of the asset. Because those 5% of the asset that is missed by the best asset management solution, they can be dangerous and put organization to a significant risk. So everything depends on the what practice we follow for remaining 5% of the things. How do we do reconciliation? Because not only the asset management solution, your asset will be integrated to your Active Directory, asset will be integrated to your antivirus. So there are various ways to do reconciliation. So those practice also should be built to ensure that 100% of the assets have the visibility. Organization have the visibility to 100% of the assets.
Sir, I think you very rightly pointed out that, and it's mainly, if you see, it's a combination of people, process, and awareness, right? So at one side, you have to make sure that you are using the right technology, so to have that regulatory compliance, and then definitely at the process level, you have to define your processes, which are an equivalent weightage at the organization level, because as long as you are having defined policies and processes built in, definitely you can work. Technology can support you at a better level, and then definitely a very important aspect is user training and user awareness, which is also plays a very important role.
Ratan brought out a lovely point on the assurance, continuous assurance. Assurance becoming a tool to manage that 5% if you take a time lag or any implementation lag or even simple plain vanilla indiscipline, lack of proper disciplines, whatever category. Actually, the 2023 circular is on IT general controls and assurance processes. Even the master direction, the title itself is Master Directions from the regulated entities on IT general controls and assurance processes. Now, the assurance processes, normally we take it to be the audit and audit required, support assurances to all the entire ecosystem, right from the executive to the board level, regulators, all stakeholders. But I think the key point is what Ratan pinpointed. Do you have it embedded into the system for the ITAM investment that you are making into fantastic solutions that are there? But the solution by itself is great unless you have a holistic implementation. Beautiful point. I just thought I'll intervene here for half a second.
Thank you very much for that. And ultimately, whatever best AI comes out with, it is ultimately the human who has to take a decision there. So one of the important things that has also come up during this research and study that we were doing is about unauthorized software access, especially from different sectors within the organization. And what enhancements are necessary now for seamless compliance? Because today we are looking at various environments in which we are working in, right from cloud to on-prem to various other solutions. So what are the difficulties or bottlenecks that you come across and workarounds that you have seen?
Thank you, Babu. And see, the unauthorized software access, naturally, it's a very critical point which you have raised, because as you know, as I was referring to earlier, the current threats are all related to when a hacker getting an access to one of your applications in one way or another, in an unauthorized manner, elevating his privileges so that he gets finally lands up your crown jewels and extracting the data, exploiting the data out. That is one of the methods or the key methods we say as a part of the ransomware attacks. So here, how do you build systems around, so that your software access is controlled? One is, see, we started from where, we started with username, we had a password, and the life was going on like that. Then slightly became more complicated when multi-factor, points came, multi-factor access came, where OTP was introduced or some additional factor was introduced. It can be biometric, it can be OTP, it can be some factor, different varieties, where one more factor was introduced, so that even if your username password is compromised, still one element of control was there. So this is where, I mean, what I would like to add here that to enhance your defenses, we need to add other elements here, other solutions related to identity and access management, wherein there is a centralized control on your software, of the users of the software, so that it is not the difficulty of adding a user, unauthorized user accessing the software becomes, it increases for a unauthorized party or hacker. Only the users are properly managed, controlled, and their accesses to each app in any environment in an organization, there are multiple applications. You need to have visibility and understanding on who's accessing which application, who's authorized to access this application, and is this person authentic? Is this an authentic user? Especially this becomes more critical when you go to cloud. Cloud is exposed, so you need to understand whether the first user is it, or is it the RAM person is a user? Is he the authorized person to access this application? If he is authorized to as application, is RAM person the person is purporting to be or is claiming to be? Number one. Number two, in the application, is he allowed to work application on which areas, or which all areas he is having permissions and approvals? So this is where we need to build current, as in the old system of username password is not going to help us. That is not enough. We need to have minimum multi-factor here, and absolutely no doubt. And not only that, a centralized management of users are very much important to ensure that this unauthorized software access threat is eliminated or reduced drastically. That is my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, I think very rightly said, Shibu sir. Normally, there are various mechanisms in how we can control that unauthorized access to the software installation. One is the user access control, definitely. But with ITAM in place, definitely you have a repository of software baselining, which is mapped to different personas, so that you can have a whitelisting and blacklisting of those applications at the technology level, and so that you can control the execution. But if you see, I'll tell you a very real-time example where if you see this software unauthorized access or software installation of unauthorized software installation, it is being followed by multiple organizations in silos, right? Where they have some software deployment tools at one end, then they have an approval mechanism at another end. Then there is software compliance, which is very, very much associated with this at another end. So these works in silos. So normally, if you go with a very, if you see the journey, right, of the software journey, one is where you have a baseline, software baseline, which is mapped to different personas on the assets, where you define the whitelisting and blacklisting of your application, so that you can control the installation and execution. Second is that proactively, how you can manage that, where users raises a request for software, right? When user raises a request for software installation, at that point of time only, I can completely automate that journey, where I can fetch only the from the software repository of software inventory, I can fetch only those software which are whitelisted in my repository, so that it should be visible only to those users. Now, once that so that is one level of security control, where you cannot have access to different applications which are not whitelisted in your organization, right? That is one. Second, once you go for that request of installation, then it goes through a proper approval mechanism, where the as a manager or as a leader, I approve that whether this is a proper software, whether it is a firmware, or whether it is an authorized software that is required by the user. The third form is control, is where I can integrate with various software repositories, where I can show the complete visibility of the license, because that is how you can manage the proactive compliance. Where, for example, what happened, like users raise a request, then desktop team or Windows team do the installation, and later we found that there was no license available for the respective software. So how can I proactively show that license availability at that point of time while I'm approving that request, so that the compliance can be maintained, and then only if the license is available, I can go ahead for the software installation. And then definitely using automation, there will be no human intervention involved without because definitely wherever there is a human intervention, there is a risk of human errors, right? So and definitely indirectly it leads to security breaches also, right? So if you are completely automating that journey, where I am checking the license availability at that point of time, and then I am approving that request, so that it can call my automation layer to deploy that software, right? In case, let's say if I do not have a license available, I can also integrate with my procurement system to raise that request automatically, and then post procurement I can update my inventory. So at various levels, you are managing that control. You are having that control on unauthorized access, as well as you are managing the compliance in terms of your software license compliance, which is where we are majorly facing challenge in terms of paying penalties to the vendors.
So the best thing is to control your admin rights.
Right.
That is the real reason why people is able to install
user
and
access, yeah.
unauthorized software.
Yeah.
And there are various tools that with each use your admin password would change. But very quickly we can use the zero trust network, which may be difficult for the legacy system, but work well with the new generation systems, then we can go for the FIM. Even if a software is installed, I have not whitelisted, the software will not run. That is a mandate by RBI, and almost all banks have now. Various switch frauds could have avoided if the FIM solution would have been there. NAC is the other control that RBI had said. If you have a NAC, then also unauthorized software cannot run. So zero trust, NAC, FIM, and a control of admin password. If you do, and the solution given by both the co-panelists together, it will prevent the unauthorized solution.
I would just like to add, like, we can do the network sniffing programs basically that deducts the IP not known in our IP list. That is one of the things that we can look after to that. Apart from that, analyzing the email traffic specifically, we know that no matters what, how much we deploy the robust system in place, at the same time, the ransom and the cyber attacks is a very common thing. We need to analyze the traffic of email that we are exchanging, both inbound and outbound, including the attachments, and at the same time educating the employees and firewall configurations. That is the key areas that we need to focus on. And apart from that, we need to make our employees also as our partner. Need to make them understand it's an organization infrastructure. They think that it's an organization thing, people are there in IT will take care, but it's not like only IT need to take care of that. It's about the responsibility of each and every user who is using the things in the system. So when you are creating a consequences of your overlookingness, being a casual approach, that helps you to be more robust in your implementations of whatever the IT or the CISO ask our people to deploy on the ground level, because it's more about, we talk about the unauthorized access, about or the installing of the softwares, but ultimately it's us only who do in the system.
That's correct.
So somewhere the other, we need to understand what is the consequences, and unless and until we don't deploy, we need to engage them in an education things also, what can be the consequences, partnering with the HR and legal department, to appraise them also and to penalize them also by creating a shadow IT activity in the organization.
Very, very much needed.
Perfect. It is like, take every employee taking a responsibility that nobody uses ID card for allowing others to tailgate into the organization. So it is not just the responsibility of the security officer alone.
Yes.
Absolutely great. Sridhar sir, you have sat in various boards, and every practitioner is coming out with some requirement or the other. Now, how is the board in the banking sector at least looking at it seriously when it comes to compliance on one side? And how can things be easier for the practitioners to get the allocation of budgets and for this kind of
Beautiful question, sir, because what was the problem earlier was, part of the problem was a great deal of a big gap, even at the oversight, that is the board. If you take the board of any company, particularly a banking company, to be the oversight, the guidance, factor, totally lacking in IT comprehension. As an executive, we have faced challenges and we try to explain. I've seen my IT colleagues struggle to explain to the board committees, board members, meetings on what they want to actually say. And only when it comes to, let's say, when push comes to a shove, then, the dollars are let around. And this is at very matured companies that some of us have worked with. So you can see what it will be downstream in some people who are not at that. That was the position that was happening even prior to, in fact, that is what necessitated the Gopal Krishna committee recommendations. And one of the strong recommendations that were at least one person on the board should have, a good understanding if you look at the wordings there.
Right.
But if you look at the Rajan committee report, it doesn't talk about just the board committee, board member profile. It talks about the entire committee membership profile, a thorough understanding of what is being presented. And the committee chairman can only be somebody who can challenge. If Ratan were to present let's say, a proposal to the board, And if I'm lucky enough to sit on that board, I should be able to challenge it if I'm occupying it. So at every place, I need to be one step ahead of the executive level. I need to keep myself, up to date. I need to look at the latest technology, look at people like Syed to help me with what the technology functions are, attend webinars, attend seminars to understand how a product works. Bring all of this into, this is the expectation. Now, how many of us do really understand this? To bring it out as an expectation to deliver that is the gap that you are addressing, saying, do you have support at the budgetary level? Do you have? In fact, some of the common reference I have personally seen in my own tenure in the board level at a few companies other than the bank which I was sitting is that the budgets, are always conservative, or let's say Shibu is presenting a budget. My complaint or concern would immediately be, is he being, is he tight fisting himself? And why is he tight fisting himself? Because of the earlier experience that saying, no, we can't release $100, try to do it within $60. So this sort of, understanding, if the board is able to bring to the, to the discussions, then at the executive level, they get a confidence. Yes, there are a couple of guys who understand what I'm saying, and they will back me up for doing it. And there, the virtuous cycle start working instead of the vicious cycle that is pulling it down. So I think this is the board regulatory expectation, and that is why it has got embedded into the Rajan committee circular. I am hoping personally that all of these young gentlemen, senior gentlemen, when they morph into board level roles, they will be able to bring it down. So it's a part of the revolution. I'm very, very confident. I'm very upbeat on how it is. What we have already traversed has been excellent, but we have a long way to go. To paraphrase Robert Frost, miles to go before we all sleep.
Superb. That's a very, very good encapsulation from the top management side. And I'm sure that our all our practitioners will be full smiles for that. And they are also gearing up to be on the boards in the future. So many of them will definitely have that empathy towards that particular conversation. Any quick comment before I move in from the practitioner side?
See, compliance is all about culture. Compliance is all about culture. And as Sir said that it must percolate from the top down. And I see that process has started long back. Different organization, different banks are at different maturity. But we are all are hopeful that everywhere there would be a cyber culture, there would be a compliance culture.
Super. Now let's talk a little bit about the response, incident response system and enhancement what has been proposed in the recent incident response protocols, and how is it going to impact the overall ease of implementation? This is one side of it. On the other side of it, a lot of gig workers are also coming into the economy. A lot of risks are raising because of that also. So let's take both these points together. How are we trying to respond faster to the incidents? What enhancements are made, and what is required now over and above what we already had in the recent past?
As far as the incident response is concerned, the main thing that we can talk about is the requirement to be carefully coordinate between the incident responses team and the variety of internal and external stakeholders. Response as basically this particular exercise has three different processes: the computer security incident processes, the emerging processing team, and the operation team. So this all the three teams need to coordinate and collaborate each other in a very precise manner and accelerate the tools so that the proper response can be generated and can be taken care of.
Super. Thank you so much, Aditya. Shibu, you have been also a practitioner for quite some time. From both user access control and from incident responses, what is your take on, how the requirements are getting enhanced and what is needed newly within the new frameworks that are being launched?
I think the expectation from regulatory is, I think, it is increasing. That is the underlying statement I want to make here. If you recollect, certain had already introduced this earlier itself regarding the response time. When an incident happens in an organization, you are supposed to report within 6 hours. Now, all the regulators are more or less aligned on this. This 6 or maybe small difference, maybe depending on the definitions and varieties. The point here is that earlier we were focusing on cyber incidents. Now operational incidents also have come in, which means normal IT downtimes also are critical. Surely we cannot we are not talking about only an hack, a distributed denial of service attack or something like that happening. We are talking about applications going down, customer service disruption happening, or major operational incidents also are getting covered. All this, the pressure is on reporting here, which is the window of 6 hours. We just get 6 hours to identify this and report this at least at the basic level. And there, I think systems, as we were mentioning, various co-panelists have mentioned this, your first user has to be really aware that, okay, I need to report that there is a psychological tendency to, slightly downplay the incident. And reporting sometimes takes a backseat, to be honest with you. So the user, the concerned administrator or admin has to be aware that, okay, there's a problem. I need to check up with people whether it's to be reported. I need to inform this to the concerned SPOCs, incident SPOCs, etc. There's a process being kicked in. The committees, the incident committees have to be also be active on this. This is all. When I say committee, I don't mean that they have to sit physically online. We can all meet online. The point is, decisions have to be taken, awareness has to be there, our process has to be well defined and robust, so that all of us know our roles very clearly. And net, the regulatory timelines are not breached. That is very critical here. Regulatory takes very serious. We have very late reporting and all that. So here we need to put our processes and systems very clearly in place so that this incident response, as Aditya was mentioning rightly, the coordination between response team and the rest of teams have to be very well defined and understood. So that the key when an incident or a crisis happens, generally the confusion is who's doing what, who's supposed to do what, all those stories, all those issues pop up. So all those things cannot happen. And for that, what do? You need to, as Army does, practice. For practice, what do? You run the red team exercises, and the incidents are such that incidents are artificially generated. Your teams come into play. They run their playbooks and ensure that they know what is to be done if there is a simulated ransomware attack. What do I do? Where do I? Who does what? And when does the incident gets identified? Number one, and then you need to mitigate it. You need to resilient as a part of resilience. You need to come back online and deliver the services again. So all these sequence events have to happen in a clockwork mode. For that, a continuous practice is one of the ways to ensure that this is on the whole processes which are defined in your documents get delivered on the ground. Everybody has got beautiful documents. Yet ultimately you need to deliver on the ground. That's where I think your team exercises play a crucial part in terms of practice. There is no other way out of that. You need to do that to ensure that incident response happens. And as you were mentioning about user access control, I think we have mentioned earlier, as I still stick to the view that a centralized management and control of your identity, digital identity. Now digital transformation takes place, user has to, and the digital identity compromise is one of the key incidents which are happening, as we discussed earlier. I don't want to elaborate more on that since we had one round of discussion on that. I stop there to hand it over to the rest of the panelists to add on to anything they want to add.
I will just add up, like we can do the drill also, like what we do in an organization in ourselves. Like a proper call tree is there, everyone is maintaining that call tree on your desktop, but we are just treating it as a documentation processes. But at the same time, you can create an artificial scenario and you can have a drill kind of a thing. The fire drill, the way we do, you can just pull it out the power plug and you can create a scenario where you can find that whether your system is working properly fine or not.
This is an important baseline control in terms of incident response, where the enhancement is mainly to aim to strengthen organizations' ability to detect, respond and recover, right? So how technology can be leveraged to do that is mainly there are a lot of tools which are there for security detection or threat detection. So ideally incident management should have that seamless integration with those tools, so that as soon as they are detected, it should be immediately triggered to the incident management layer. And that is one. Second, like we can use automation and orchestration tools to self-heal that can save MTTR. Like, and then from the user's perspective, like the process should have, or the tool should have a lot of built-in automation workflows which can ease the process and can reduce the MTTR. And then definitely with a lot of intelligence using AI and all, you can have those intelligence or recommendations which can help the person who is working on that incident to immediately resolve that via that intelligence, which can help them to enhance their productivity. So these are the 4 areas which I feel majorly, which is required to cover this baseline.
Super. But Syed, one more thing. We have talked about too many elements here. Okay.
Right.
Ultimately, with every enhancement, we need one technology, other technology.
Right.
So, what is the overall effect of it on the total cost of operation? How does it go up, down? Because ultimately, the board has to sit and approve the budgets for the cost of operation. So has the
Right.
practitioner. That is
Right.
one thing. And
Right.
the other thing is also, how do you measure the efficiency of these particular solutions in terms of parameters? Any thoughts on this quickly from your side?
Right, right. You rightly said that there are various technologies that can comply to these baseline controls, be it IDAM solutions, be it security solutions, be it threat intelligence solutions, or be it SIM solutions, right? Or then definitely an asset management solution. So the purpose should be mainly we can have some kind of unified platform, right, which can easily collaborate with all these tools with the seamless integration in place, right? That is one where you can have a single unified interface for the users that can save different optimize the overall maintenance and operational cost also, right? Second is that mainly from the item perspective, how you can optimize the usage, which can help you to reduce your inventory cost. So normally a lot of customers are using our item solution, and we have helped them to reduce that up to 30% inventory cost, and then non-compliance penalties up to 25% by using a very comprehensive life cycle management and software inventory and hardware inventory management. So if the right usage of the technology with tightly coupled process and people awareness can definitely help us to bring out that TCO. Yeah.
Superb. I think that was a good thing. Any of the practitioners want to share anything on the total cost of operations, as well as anything around the overall concept that we are looking into implementing these solutions or risk parameters?
So for rating parameter, we have a different quantitative tools that many banks uses, and they are like KRI, KPI,
Yep.
effectiveness study, and there are and many other quantitative parameters. So a for any incident, logs are very important. So percentage of log that is enabled in the system, percentage of log that is going to your security operations center, percentage of the use cases that is getting triggered, the false positive ratio, the false negative ratio, true positive ratio, and you can industry benchmark these ratio, quantitative ratio. So you will know the effectiveness of your incident management program by this quantitative ratio, and many banks are doing that, and all other banks should do. So now earlier we used to have the qualitative only. Now we have a lot of quantitative tools to measure our internal efficacy, as well as where we stand among the industry peers. That also can be seen if we calculate these ratios and parameters.
Superb.
Just one point, Babu, if you don't mind, just add to what
Please,
Ratan
please.
told. Here, I think the risk scores are very important here, and you have got a lot of third-party services which measure you check you from outside, and both internally tools are available to arrive at a total overall risk score, which would help the top management to understand where. See, at the end of the day, as Mr. Sridhar would agree, the board may not be in a position to understand all this technology jargons which we throw at them. So at the end of the day, numbers are what speak. I mean, there's a measurable factor. What you can measure, you can explain. And this is what there we stand. We build a scoring system. This scoring system would help us a long way in making the board and higher top management understand where we stand. I think that is very critical. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
I have one question that has come to me for the panel, saying recent regulations are creating brakes on innovation. So do you think regulation will impact financial organization companies?
In the name of innovation, if I don't know, the questioner possibly meant saying that if I want to do something better than the regulation, there is no problem. As they say, you can be more British than the Queen. You can't be less British.
Interesting. That's a very valid point that you have put. As long as you are compliant enough with all the regulations that are there, the regulator will not have problem. Then you can go ahead with the thing. So I remember a
Babu,
conversation.
one quick point here, just to set the record straight. Even the regulator has got regulator something called regulatory sandbox, where you are allowed to innovate in that sandbox within. So you are within the compliance as well as your innovation is not hampered. So there are provisions available now. Sufficient, the number of fintechs in the country are, large number is there, and I think systems are now geared for doing an innovation and encouraging innovation, staying within the and sticking to the compliance. It is there now. Systems are there. Yeah.
Superb. Syed,
Yeah.
so from your perspective, as an ITAM solution, how can you maintain comprehensive audit trails and implement change management process to track changes made to IT assets and configurations then?
Very good question, I would say, because if you see, IT asset management gives you a comprehensive platform which manages the complete life cycle of an asset, right? Not only with respect to hardware and software, but completely from procurement till disposal. So, and whenever there is an event happening on that, a tightly coupled ITSM layer, which is mainly from incident and change management, which where we have a CMDB where we manage the configuration baselines, and it also manages the dependencies. So, using that, definitely you can have a better control on your changes, and definitely you can do a better risk assessment and impact analysis while doing your change management. So a unified ITSM and ITAM definitely will help in meeting those compliance needs.
Superb. Anybody else to add a concluding remark before we close the session?
Thing is that the particular area of cyber is something that we need to understand the crime that is happening, and at the same time the repercussions of that. Okay, that is the only thing that we need to understand, because it's sometimes we feel that it's the regulator only who is pushing it out, to deploy this or that. But at the same time, if you will understand what financial data you are dealing with, specifically with either with bank or with the broking, so we need to understand that what things we are keeping it on stake and we are dealing with, and how we need to overcome out of that. So it is the digitalization that has happened. It has its own ease of doing business, but at the same time it is coming with some cost also. Some repercussion is also there. We need to understand that it's not about the regulator, as the questioner has asked the question, whether we are innovating too much or less. It's more about whether we are addressing the right thing at the right time or not.
Superb.
Digitalization is very important, but at the same time, it should be in a proper sync with no compromise.
Superb.
That is all.
So, gentlemen, one important thing out of this conversation is, innovation is inevitable. You have to have innovation. And at the same time, it is also essential that you insulate yourself against all the possible risks that would arise out of innovation. And I think all the security heads would definitely nod to it, that you cannot have take any kind of risk with the regulations or with the compliance perspective. That is absolutely non-negotiable, and nobody wants to face the music of the regulator at any point in time. And forget the regulator, I think forward-looking compliance guys. I did a conference on risk management some time back, when then the governor was there at our conference, and he said, risk management and compliance is not a business, is not a spoke in the wheel, but it is more of a accelerator to the business. And I think the way we try to adopt this into our grounds up strategy of putting security compliance into the grounds up framework of the building of the organization, I think a lot more problems would be over, and we can not just look at the compliance continuum, we should look at the growth continuum with the compliance inbuilt into it. So this is the small takeaway that I can take out of this entire conversation. I would really profusely thank each one of you for your valid, contribution from the technology side, from banking side, from the board side, and we really had a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen.